Welcome back to The Explainer. I am honestly absolutely thrilled to have you here today because we're tackling something that affects, well, almost every single one of us. Getting completely trapped in our own heads, right? If you've ever found yourself stuck in this endless loop of overthinking, kind of fighting your own mind or obsessing over some passing thought, this explainer is literally made for you. Today, we're unpacking a massive game changer, a psychological skill that's going to help you stop overthinking and finally get unstuck from your own mind. Let's get into it.
So let's just kick things off with a pretty direct question. Do you believe everything you think? Like, do you buy into every single thought that passes through your head as if it's the absolute truth? It's kind of jarring when you stop and ask it, right? Because most of the time, we don't even realize we're having a thought. We just instinctively believe it.
It's basically like, well, think about this stickman right here. We swim in our thoughts like a fish swims in water. A fish doesn't know it's wet, and a lot of times, we don't realize we're completely surrounded by our own thinking. Our thoughts act just like those glasses he's wearing. They're this invisible lens, coloring our entire view of the world. If your glasses say the world is a terrible, scary place, well, that's exactly what you'll see. But what if you could take those glasses off?
Okay, so here's our roadmap for today. First, the invisible trap. Then, what is cognitive fusion? Next, enter cognitive defusion, followed by the diffusion toolkit, and finally, choosing your thoughts.
All right, jumping right into part one, the invisible trap.
Let's ground this in a real story. So there's this guy, Miguel. He's at a party with a good group of friends, having a great time. Everything is totally fine, until he makes a joke. Suddenly, his brain starts going, oh man, did I say the wrong thing? Did I hurt her feelings? Then the group splits up. Some go to the pool, some to the game room, and Miguel starts absolutely panicking because he doesn't know who to follow. He starts thinking, I'm such a loser for getting anxious again. Why do I always do this? He gets completely wrapped up in trying to force his anxious thoughts to go away. And here's the real kicker. Fighting those thoughts just drains his attention and his energy. He ends up so exhausted from the mental struggle that he just leaves the party early.
So why was Miguel so trapped? Well, when you peel back the layers, it turns out Miguel was operating under this unwritten rule that he didn't even notice was there. Look at how crushed our stickman is under that heavy thought bubble. That rule was, I can never make anyone feel bad. Miguel was so blindly believing this invisible rule that it was literally dictating his life. I mean, he even admitted later to staying in a relationship with a girlfriend for an extra year, a whole year, just because he didn't want to make her feel bad by breaking up. He had bought that thought entirely.
Which brings us to part two. What exactly is cognitive fusion?
We can actually put a clinical name to what Miguel was experiencing here. It's called cognitive fusion. See, our brains are basically just these non-stop word machines. They're constantly spitting out thoughts and observations all day long. Cognitive fusion is the problem of getting completely stuck to whatever words your brain produces, just like our panic stickman here, literally glued to his own thought bubble. It's when you buy into every single thought passing through your mind and look through them as if they are absolute, unquestionable reality, instead of looking at them as just passing words.
And that leads us perfectly into part three. Enter cognitive diffusion.
Notice how calm and serene the stickman is now? He's taken the glasses off and he's looking at them. Diffusion is this incredibly powerful mental health skill of creating space to notice your thoughts without buying them. You realize that you are the thinker. You are the open space where thoughts happen, not the thoughts themselves. When Miguel finally noticed his unwritten rule, he could look at it and say, oh, okay, that's just a thought I'm having. It's not actually helpful.
So how do we actually do this? Let's move to part four, the diffusion toolkit.
How do we build this muscle of taking the glasses off? The tricky thing about cognitive diffusion is that it's kind of hard to just explain it. You really have to experience it directly to get it. So we're going to walk through 5 specific, actionable exercises right now. Let's just dive right into the first one.
Okay, I want you to practice this with me literally right this second. Whatever thought is running through your mind right now, even if that thought is, wow, this explainer is super boring, or I have so much laundry to do, I want you to place this exact phrase in front of it. I notice that I'm having the thought that. So it becomes, I notice that I'm having the thought that this is boring. Do you feel what just happened there? You created this instant sense of distance. You were over here, noticing, and the thought is over there, just floating by like that cloud above our stickman.
Tool number 2 is giving the thought a name. When a negative spiral hits, maybe it's that familiar voice telling you you'll never be successful, give that voice an actual literal name. Some people call it the bully, Or, as the source material playfully suggests, call it Billy Bob. So you just say, oh hey, there's Billy Bob popping up again telling me what to think, just like our stickman firmly pointing at his grumpy little Billy Bob thought. Naming it says, I am me, and you are just a thought. It completely separates your core identity from those intrusive words.
All right, tool number 3 is word repetition. Let's say your brain is screaming at you that you are awkward. I invite you to say it with me out loud right now, over and over. Awkward, 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 awkward. Keep going. What happens? After a while, it actually stops feeling like a terrifying, heavy truth and just dissolves into a weird, totally meaningless jumble of sounds. Awkward. It loses all its power because ultimately, your brain is just a word machine, and awkward is literally just a word.
Moving to our 4th tool, this one involves getting physical. The legendary martial artist Bruce Lee actually understood diffusion perfectly. He said he would visualize writing his negative thoughts on paper, crumpling it up, and burning it to a crisp. This technique is all about symbolically putting your intangible, floating thoughts onto a physical object to give them a tangible form. It creates a real, physical boundary between you and your mind.
To really drive this physical concept home, consider this incredibly powerful anecdote from the source material. A therapist had a client who was struggling with severe low self-esteem, and they used a literal 10-pound rock. The client wrote the words, "I'm unlovable" on it. When she believed that thought, when she bought it, she would physically carry that heavy rock around the room. But when she chose to just notice the thought without buying it, she physically set the rock down. The rock was still in the room, sure, just like the thought was still in her head, but she wasn't carrying its weight anymore. Pretty amazing, right? Which brings us to our final section, Part 5, Choosing Your Thoughts.
Once you can put that rock down, you get to choose where you walk next. And actually, it's really helpful to quickly contrast this with another popular tool you might know, Cognitive Behavioral Therapy, or CBT. If you have the thought, I'm a loser, CBT teaches you to challenge it. You look for exceptions, you debate it, you use logic. But diffusion, which actually comes from acceptance and commitment therapy, takes a totally different route. Instead of fighting or debating the thought, you just notice it. You literally say, thanks, mind, for that thought. Having both of these skills gives you a much wider, way more flexible emotional tool belt to handle whatever your word machine decides to throw at you.
Ultimately, the whole point of cognitive diffusion is freedom. When you create space between yourself and your thoughts, you earn the power to ask yourself this one vital question. Does buying this thought make my life better? Does believing it actually help you live the life you value? If yes, great, keep it. But if no, if it just makes you anxious at a party like Miguel, you can just let it float by like a cloud. So the next time you get caught in an overthinking loop, I want you to remember this explainer. Picture our stickman setting down that heavy 10-pound rock and ask yourself that exact question. You might just find you've had the power to choose your thoughts all along.